to the Wilderness Survival School, where we talk everything wilderness survival and preparedness. Now today I have some items out for you. I'm pretty much going to discuss the evolution of fire. From an emergency situation, 72 hours to a week, it's good to have with you, and something that's more long-term, something you keep in your prepper pantry or whatever have you. First up, we have the magnifying glass. This is a 7-time magnifying glass, and if you're in a situation where the sun is not an issue, or maybe it is an issue, at least you know you have this. It's unlimited, utilizing sources from nature, and just by focusing this point down to a point like so, you can ignite tinder sources. Magnifying glass is an essential item, especially I would consider this long-term item right here. Something that works on the same premise, but I think is more short-term, because the longer you have it, it'll get a little gummy, get a little gummed up. And that's the Fresnel lens. Your Fresnel lens fits right in your wallet. I carry it with my EDC every single day. In case of any kind of situation, I know I can start fire, almost guaranteed, if I have sunlight. Okay. Now moving on from utilizing solar energy to the Flint steel kit. The Flint steel kit is an essential piece of gear. I teach it at the Wilderness Survival School. I think it's something that everybody should pick up doing. You're not going to just pick it up and instantly know how to do it. You've got to play with it. You've got to figure out how it works. This is just simple Altoids tin. I use it for charring my material. And I don't just use, like your 100% cotton, like which that would be right there. But I also have some pieces of punk wood. When I say punk wood, I mean basically wood that's very spongy in the woods. You've seen a tree rotten as you've walked past. You've probably felt it and it feels kind of squishy. Get yourself some dry pieces of that, and I utilize the same time frame when I'm making all my charred materials. And I take about 11 minutes is what my total time is, I think, on that. I do that pretty much every single time. And basically what I do is I have the tinder source directly inside of the tin. And I will take my stone here. This is English chert. I will take that. I can put the cotton-based material right here on the side and spark it up just like that. Or if I'm in a situation, let's say like right now, it's a little windy, I'll be able to have my tinder in here, hold this over my tinder, and strike it directly in there, blowing on it, moving that into my tinder bundle, and then blowing it into ignition. Moving on from there, we have the fire piston. This works on the same premise of technology like a diesel combustion engine, right? So the bottom will unscrew and it will release the pressure so this can move up and down freely. Put mine barely in, tighten it back up. I don't know if you can see that, but it already has an ember in there. Just like that. Okay? And this is something that I've been wanting to do and that I love to do, is teach and educate people on these things. I would consider the fire piston not a long-term solution. Unless you just have an abundance of cotton-based materials, it can utilize that, but you also have to worry about the O-rings and all that. In an emergency situation, good to have it. The famous UCO storm lighters, matches, fantastic. I love these things. I teach them. I tell people to always carry them with you. It comes in a waterproof container. It's under $10. You get about 25 of them. All right. They're just fantastic. You can soak these things in water. You can put them in sand and pull them back out. Oxygen will ignite it right back until it's full use of the entire thing. They are absolutely fantastic. I also pair them normally with the Strike Anywhere matches, and I also advocate people bringing that with them to class and stuff like that, just so people can understand proper ways to hold matches and such. Next up, we have our lighters. These are fantastic products. This is the Exotac fire sleeve. Now this right here is a standard Bic. Okay. Normally in high altitude, your Bic's not going to work. So That's out of the way. But if it gets wet, it is a pain to get it to work if you do get it to work again. This, I've submerged this thing. It works absolutely fantastic. I carry this every day, and you can't, for an emergency situation, a camping trip, an outing with your family, if you want a sure way to have fire, this is what it would be. Along, I pair it with wrapped in a little bit of duct tape here, and I have that as a fire extender, so almost like a tender. And this is the Exotac Titan Light. It is a Zippo type lighter. Holds for an extremely long time without releasing any of the moisture, which is what the problem is with most of these Zippos. I have mine wrapped in some rubber bands here with some extra Flint, and it seems to hold. Some people use Ranger bands or, you know, stuff from inner tubes of tires from their bicycles and stuff. That's fine. I found that the Zippo is actually more windproof than the Titan Light. But I still love this because of its non-evaporative properties. I just absolutely bring this. These are the kind of containers that you're going to need to make your char in. The containers are, you don't want to just get like a tin. I prefer you get steel, something like that, stainless steel, because I've actually burned these things up in fires and just trying to make char. I do put the hole in just as a timer, kind of, when it stops. The flame stops coming up the top. I generally know what I'm doing. This is a second flint steel. I just have the tin here to show you. I found that the best material to char if you're going out for an outing, you want to make some pre-char material, is the lantern wicks. They char up really nice, brittle. You can break them off, and they hold a really strong ember for a really long time. I love that very much. And then to my personal favorite, the ferrocerium rod. The ferro rod is something that I tell everybody to bring. You're going to bring this as one of your gear lists to the class. You know, I carry a knife that has one on there. I don't really use that one very much. I've been using this one for about 6 months, and I mean, you can just, it doesn't even have a divot in it. I mean, the stuff works effortlessly, and with the proper training. And I mean, this is a long-term item. This kid, doesn't matter if it's wet, cold, this can be stored in water. I mean, this thing is just bulletproof. And I would suggest anybody in the preparedness community, not only the bushcrafters, you need to master this. This is a skill. It's great to have your lighter, but it runs out. Your matches are going to run out. The O-rings on your fire piston is going to run out. You might not be able to procure proper stones for this, but if you have a sharp object or a knife, the ferro rod will last you an extremely long time with barely using anything of it. And if you want something that is more, that's going to last you a lifetime, you can get something like this. This is a 1-inch diameter by 6-inch. It weighs about a pound. This will last you a lifetime. You'll never have a problem striking a fire anywhere, especially when you can get grass. You know, carry your haversack with you. I don't teach and advocate carrying the old school haversack because it slips off, and sometimes it's dangling, it's in your way when you're making fire. Have something on your belt. Have something that just opens up, and you can just have your haversack right here on your side. You could be walking through the woods, grabbing debris. It's extremely useful, and that's what I use it for. I actually use it for carrying stuff like this. This is fat wood. Nature's fantastic fire starter. You can make very thin shavings of this stuff. I also take my knife and I agitate the back and make a thin fuzz. And then you can even pair it with a ferrocerium rod, which you just put it on there like that after you've made feather sticks. So basically you're going to have your ferrocerium rod right here against your fat wood stick that you've procured in the woods. And we'll go over videos about how to do that. And then you're going to have your little bit of fuzz bundle right here, whether it's you agitating it like this or you're cutting feather sticks. And once it's at the end, you spark it like that and it'll instantly ignite. And then you could have yourself a nice fire going with this big time. So, and if you want to get a tinder, which I have recently discovered and I think it's fantastic, it's something that I would probably tell my students to carry, at least in their emergency go bags and stuff like that. You have this right here by Procamptek. This is the ultimate fire tinder. It's like a fuzz. I mean, it's just like, it's like the fuzz you would agitate from a fat wood. And it's just tons of the stuff. The stuff you can light it right on fire directly in water. It's not going to get blown out. It's going to get your wet tinder going in an emergency situation. It's going to keep your core temperature where you need it to be to get that fire, dry out those sticks, so where you can also cook and eat and everything. So the winner of today, if I were to say the best fire starting implement in the world that I personally would carry, remember, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Ferrocerium rod wins every single time. Flint and steel is going to be my second, and solar is going to be my third, and that's what I'm going to teach and advocate for everybody to bring. The other stuff is great, short-term trekking, getting to your bug out location, getting to your makeshift bunker, earth bag bunker, anything like that. And in today's society, with all the stuff going on right now, it really is apparent to have some of this stuff. Be proficient in this stuff. And that's why I'm here. I want to try to bridge the gap between the prepper and the bushcrafter, because your preps will run out. And in a grid down long-term scenario, if you don't have the proper skills, you're going to find yourself, your family, in possibly some dangerous situations. But you can like and subscribe. If you have information and you want some product reviews, you can email us at the Wilderness Survival School at protonmail.com. The email link is in the description. And we just look forward to doing the best that we can for you. It's not a huge production, and that's not what we're trying to do. Because being out in the wilderness and in survival, it's not about how fancy it is. It's about the information and how good you can get it across. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time off the concrete.